If there's one important thing I want you to take away right at the start of this video, please do not be farming this Obsidian Obsession. There's going to be new materials to level her up. Once 2.0 comes out, you're just going to be wasting all your resources. Rather, if you want to pre-farm now, let me tell you what you can pre-farm. Go over to the character Ascension materials. They didn't introduce a new win boss coming out in 2.0 straight up, and they didn't mention it at all in the summary. So farm this one, Ascendant Debris, for enough to get her up to level 80. I believe it's like 65 or 60, something like that. You can check it out as well based on like calculators that's easily found online. But yeah, just a huge TLDR in front. But now let's jump into the build guide video. We're going to be talking about Black Swan. Of course, as of time of recording, Black Swan hasn't been released, but I've already pre-farmed most of them, and I think you can too. There are, let me just go into like the menu real quick. Some of you have seen like new sets coming out in terms of like relic sets, new Lightcones. The TLDR I want you to take away is the new sets will not impact Black Swan, but you'll impact other characters instead. You can really farm for Black Swan right now if you're looking for relics and Lightcones to a large extent, unless you're planning to pull for Black Swan's signature Lightcone, then it's of course a little bit different. I'll give you like a quick summary of stuff and then I'll go and explain more in detail as we go along. So depending on how much content you want, you can feel free to just listen in if you're interested too. Some value for everyone. Prisoner in Deep Confinement. If you have no idea of what variety you want to do, your very, very safe bet is running Prisoner in Deep Confinement. This is super solid because it gives you attack percentage, which she scales off with. DOT characters can't crit, that's why you don't care too much about crit rate, crit damage. For every DOT the target enemy is afflicted with, the wearer will ignore 6% of its defense. Generally speaking, Black Swan wants to hit enemies with a lot of DOT, and her team compositions generally will have a lot of DOT in them. So you get like 18% defense ignore, which is fantastic. So 4Ps, very clear. Prisoner in Deep Confinement probably is my top pick. I don't think it deviates from this much, with one exception probably will be if you're running something cheesy like a break effect kind of Black Swan. I think that is another alternative that people might try. I don't think it's going to be like super good, but running her as a pure support, I think she's much better as a DPS currently as what we speak. If you are planning to go for a break effect supportive Black Swan kind of build instead of like attack percentage scaling DOT DPS, I would say wait for 2.0 because there's a new break set they mentioned in the live stream coming out. That one looks a little bit more interesting for that kind of concept that you're trying to go. We'll talk about like main stats and what to focus on in a bit, but let's go on to the two-piece planar ornament synthesis that we have over here. We're going to talk about what two-piece set is good for her. Some of you who are very quick, you already know, I think that Firmament Frontline Glamour probably will be a very, very ideal one for her. You get a lot of attack percentage here, so you get 12% here, 12% here from Prisoner in Deep Confinement. That's a 24% from the subs alone, and additionally, if your speed is slightly faster, you get 12%, 18% more damage. If you're running with Esther in your team, her out pushes you immediately past like the 160 barrier, so very, very easy to get. And maybe you need like 1 or 2 rolls of speed here and there, a speed boot, but not too hard to get the full 18%. Even if you can't get the 18%, a speed boot and some subs in rolls will get you at 135 quite nicely. 12% is already a lot better than some of the alternatives that we are seeing too. So that is one alternative, one way of doing things. As mentioned, of course, the break effect has its own break effect route that is more niche in general. I think most people will be fine with Firmament Frontline Glamour if you farm for this. Okay, let's talk about 2 alternatives for this like traditional DOT build. There are 2, and I want to mention. The first one is effect hit rate team or effect hit rate build. If you notice here, Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise increases effect hit rate by 10% and also increases your attack percentage based on the amount of effect hit rate you have. This thing is double scaling for Black Swan because Black Swan also has a Trace talent passive that increases the damage that she deals based on the amount of effect hit rate that she has. So meaning you get triple utility. If you use Pangalactic Commercial oh my god, it's so trippy, right, the words. If you use this PCCE, what you get is 10% effect hit rate, you get some attack percentage on that, so this is like 25%, so you get 2.5 attack percentage from this 2-piece. On top of that, you also have damage percentage bonuses from Black Swan's own ability and her own kit as well. So this 10% converts to many, many different things, which is why I think Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise, didn't it used to be called Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise? I never been used to like call Pan-Cosmic. I always remember it to be like Pan-Galactic, but whatever, okay? I'm not going to just delve on that. So this is another interesting one, and I think it will get more and more useful as enemies have higher effect res in the game. Right now, the enemies are okay, other than like the boss's final stage and stuff. All the squishy mobs still get DOT'd quite well, but moving forward, sacrificing damage, Firmament Frontline Glamour for effect hit rate, I think will be the meta going forward, especially if we have more effect res units that resist a lot of DOTs. So I just want to like prep you guys. Both of these are okay. In the short term, I think Frontline Glamour is alright. In the long term, Commercial Enterprise, this one PCCE is likely going to be a little bit better for a longevity for your character. That is one of the alternatives. The other alternative, like on the other end of the spectrum, would be your energy restoration sets, like your Sprightly Von Wack and your Penacony Land of Dreams set. So the question, of course, is how much value is 5% energy restoration rate? If you are running Black Swan as a supportive role and you're using certain like energy restoration to try to like hit max Arcana, maybe because you don't run her with like any other DOT character on the same team, she's the only one building stacks of Arcana. In that case, energy restoration rate helps you maintain the stacks by having uptime on Black Swan's burst. It's a more niche comp where you're running Black Swan as a supportive kind of role. We talked about in our unorthodox comps on best teams for Black Swan video. Check that out. We go into much more theory in terms of team composition and why it's actually viable. But for this video, I just want to tell you that these two are still viable if you're running a more unorthodox Black Swan in terms of a supportive function where she deals damage on the side. So these two alternatives. Why I don't really care too much about Space Sealing Station is, at the end of the day, 24% attack is not very, very significant. Attack percentage is very easy to get. Much rather getting like effect hit rate or damage percentage. These are a little bit trickier to find, but of course, if you have like a super god tier Space Sealing Station, don't let my words stop you as well. Just find what's most efficient for your particular account. I'm just talking about the generic majority of people. So main stats, main sets in line. Now let's go in and talk about like what do you want to focus on. For Planisphere, in case any of you who have no idea like what DOT is affected by, is your first time, maybe you don't have Kafka at all, check out our DOT guide, which we'll link in the video card above or at the end screen or on the channel, you can find it out. Basically, elemental damage bonus does benefit DOT. So wind damage bonus likely is going to be the best for this one. Maybe I shouldn't be using this. It's going to be like misrepresentation, so any of you gets confused or whatnot. This one here, wind damage bonus likely probably will be your best in slot. It increases the DOT damage that she deals, and also the instances of damage that can crit also benefit from wind damage bonus. This is pretty clear. For the link rope is where it gets a little bit tricky. There are, in my opinion, 3 ways you can do it. The safest bet for any of you who don't want to learn more into like theory crafting, go with attack percentage. This is going to be like the simplest way to go about doing things. You don't have to theory craft too much. You don't have to learn too much about what team compositions, when to switch out and here. Very, very simple to understand. For any of you who are a bit more adventurous, you want to start like breaking boundaries, you want to understand how break effect works and stuff, you could consider running a break effect kind of build in the link rope if you needed that additional amounts of break effect. Wind break is not fantastic, not significantly stronger, and of course you do want that attack percentage to come from somewhere. If you are running a Harmony character that gives you a lot of attack percentage, that's when you want to switch out to break effect and energy restoration rate as alternatives, because there are diminishing returns to stacking attack percentage. You get less benefit the higher or more attack buffs that you already have. So these two are like the alternatives in my opinion. Energy restoration rate, like mentioned, is if you're trying to complete a 2-turn, 3-turn rotation with Black Swan, and it's possible, especially for a few of you that were lucky enough to play in a little bit earlier when we talk about the Lightcone section too. But generally, I would say my recommendation is just stick to attack. It's much simpler to understand. That is for the firmament. This is for the planar ornaments. And for talking about the 4-piece set, your head and hands, of course, they are fixed. Body, I think there is mainly 2 ways of doing it. The first is, of course, attack percentage. You get a lot of it here. And alternatively, if you are running Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise or PCCE, whatever it's called now, effect hit rate is a lot better if you are looking to guarantee yourself hitting the DOTs building Arcana stacks. It's yet to be seen whether they can be completely resisted Arcana stacks, but we will have to see. But for now, I'll stick to an attack percentage recommendation. But if you have a godlike effect hit rate gear lying around, make sure you keep it. It might be useful someday too for your DOT teams to be able to land the damage more frequently as well. And this is where I want to give you an alternative. HP and defense is going to be not impossible to run, I would say. this is very weird because some of you might be like, why would I want to run DOT characters with HP and defense? I think in the event in future one day, if we do have a healing character that every time a DOT procs, you heal like 1% HP, similar to the one in the simulated universe, that's when I think these two will come into the meta. Right now, as of version 2.0, when we're just getting in, these two won't be relevant yet. But if you have a very nice one with like HP percentage main stats, nice attack percentage subs as well, I think you should just keep it just in case. It might be really good on one day. But hopium, right? One day. For the boots, I think that out of all of them, speed likely will be my preferred choice. If you notice, a lot of the 2-piece set bonuses, like Firmament, Frontline, Glamour, relies you to hit that certain threshold of speed. Speed boot not only helps you hit those thresholds for your 2-piece set bonuses, but and in case you guys don't understand which one it was, is this one here. To hit this at 160 mark, you get that 25 from the main stat from the speed boot. You don't have to worry too much about subs. Attack percentage can be found in sub stats, and in quite good amount of quantity from other of your gear already, so you tend to be like more or less capping out attack percentage anyway. Speed is a little bit trickier to find. Other than Asta and a few other units, you don't really get that as often. That's why I think for the feat, going with speed is much better. Another thing is you are moving faster relative to your opponent, which means that you get more stacks on them by proccing Arcana, building the Arcana stacks relative to the enemy, and giving yourself some energy restoration too. So the faster you move on the enemy, the higher chance you can maintain those Arcana stacks for the next turn and the turns thereafter, which is why I don't think attack percentage will be very good for a character like her. If you are a screenshot kind of person, you just want to show you have like 4k attack on your Black Swan, you probably will have to run attack percentage. But other than for that fact, I think for utility and usability purposes, speed likely will outperform. That is for your relics, or your like relics. Now let's talk about Lightcones. Super trippy today. No idea why. But okay, let's look at Lightcones that are coming out. We talked about relics and how the new relics will not affect things at all. I want to give you a caveat here. The new Lightcones that are coming out, I think we saw, for example, there's going to be a new free one that's coming up in the Lightcone Manifest shop. Free to play, everyone can get it in the Herta shop. That's going to be updated 2.0. Chances are, right now as of time I record, I don't have official information. I just want to tell you that there is a higher chance, probability than zero, that Lightcone is going to be useful for Black Swan. But I still want to give you some options available moving into it. So the Relic section is going to be super relevant, but this Lightcone section might be a bit flexible, and I just want to keep it at that. Her signature Lightcone, of course, is going to be one of her best in slots, and I don't think it's her best in slot in my opinion for versatility, but let's dig into it. Should I start the bad news first or the good news? Let's start off first with the bad news, okay, for some of you, because I always like to eat the veggies on my plate first before we get into the nice juicy meat portions. I'm sorry any vegetarians out there. But before the tutorial mission starts, if any of you who are around in version 1.1, some of you old timers, this is super good for her. Increases effect hit rate by 40%, which she desperately needs as well. Converts it to damage percentage. If you're using Pan Galactic Commercial Enterprise, gives you attack percentage as well. I think you can get this also even if you missed it, but we will check it out in a bit. When the wearer attacks defense reduced enemies, which Black Swan does, she regenerates 8 energy, which means it refunds a lot of energy to her, making her a good combo of like a pseudo Pella, not as high defense break as Pella, but offering a lot more damage on the side as well, and getting a lot of refund for herself through this 8 energy. Very good if you're trying to build those Arcana stacks and try to like maintain it there with her ultimate ability. So I think this is good for a supportive Black Swan build. And I'll tell you, like, you can... I'm not too sure because I completed the event, but if I'm not too wrong, you can come into here, go into this like bottom right here, you can see whether you can find it. I'm not too sure whether it's like this one here or one of them. One of them I'm sure gives it. I'm honestly not too sure if it's an event exclusive, but either way, I'm not going to harp on that. That is one option that I want to give. There are many options available too. If you're looking for a DPS Black Swan, Good Night and Sleep Well will be the best choice for a moderate spender. You have a 4-star here, it does tons of damage, you can stack up to 3 times, DOT counts as debuffs, so your damage buffs increase like 72% or something like ridiculous amounts. So if you have like Kafka, your Queen Knife and Sampo, you very easily can hit these max stacks at Super Imposition 5, massive amount of damage. If you have GNSW, Good Night Sleep Well, build it, it's probably going to be pretty safe bet for you, can be used on a lot of characters too. Utility Black Swan, probably Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat will be interesting. At S1 is a 12% defense threat. I think it's about a 60% increase in terms of defense shredding that she does. I'm not too exactly sure as of time of recording, but it's still useful if you want to play more of a supportive role. Totally free to play. For Marta, it's pretty decent as well. You increase the amount of damage to enemies inflicted by shock or wind shear. This also applies to DOT, so your Arcana does benefit from this. The question I have is Arcana considered as wind shear? Inflicted by wind shear? We have to test it out and see. But if it is, great news for us. Increases break effect, which is nice on the side too. So that is like some options from the 4 stars. The one that is another free to play one is Solitary Healing, which I think some of you might be interested in. You can get it at max level. Break effect, super good for her. She skills, or not like super good, it's decently useful for her, unlike like other characters of the Nihility class, like if you're Ice or something like that. Might not get too much benefit out of this, so break effect is decent on Black Swan, I correct myself. And when wearer uses the ultimate, increases DOT dealt by the wearer by 48%, lasting for 2 turns, which is nice. To just inflict more damage on the enemy. So she can use both of these things here too, and when the target enemy suffering from DOT is defeated, you regenerate energy for the wearer. So this is like super good to help with refund. So any of you who are like upset about not being around for before the tutorial mission starts, not to worry. This one, as you can see, is like 476 attack. Solitary Healing is slightly higher with like 50 higher base attack, 10% higher base attack. At the same time, you also get some energy restoration if the enemy is like defeated. And I don't even think she has to be the one that kills the target, as long as like suffering from the DOT imposed by whereas defeated. Yeah, any target I think is defeated or dies, she gets the energy back. So Solitary Healing is a lot better on Black Swan and then Kafka. So if you're thinking of like deciding who to put it on, I'll put it on Black Swan. So very strong free-to-play options as we can see so far. For now, 5 stars is where it gets fun. Let's talk about this one first, okay? Because this is relatively free-to-play. You can get it, you can pick it up basically. It gives you more attack percentage. As you can see, it's like 10% higher than Solitary Healing, more or less. And at the same time, it gives you increase to the wearer's damage to debuffs enemy by 24%, which basically DOT is considered as debuffs. So additional damage that is increased. I'm not too sure whether this applies to DOT, honestly. I haven't leveled mine up yet at all. If any of you know whether this applies to DOT, maybe you have experience with it, leave us in the comments below. We'll be happy to like read and also understand and grow as a community together. But other than that, when you use your skill, effect hit rate increases by 18% for the attack, and your attack increases by 24%, which most of the time you want to use her skill because it gives you that defense breaking, gives her more energy restoration too. So I think this is overall pretty decent, especially if she can use the first part for her Arcana damage, but we definitely have to test that out. I'm not too sure whether it benefits from the Arcana or this 24% benefits Arcana. The light cone that is very important, and that's why I wanted to put this video out a little bit earlier, is patience is all you need. This light cone, it has Kafka here, but this light cone is very, very versatile, and let me explain why. So you have damage dealt by the wearer increases by 24%. This is super nice for Arcana. This one works with DOT as well. And every attack launched by the wearer, your speed increases by 4.8%, stacking up to 3 times. 12 something speed helps you hit that threshold that you need for Firmament, Front Life, Glamour, move faster so you get effectively more energy restoration. So already the first two is already pretty decent, but the part that makes it super nice is this second part, or this last part, third part here. When you have an enemy not afflicted by this erode debuff and you hit them, you place this erode debuff, which turns any of your DOT characters, Nihility characters, into a lightning rod, basically a shock applier that you can apply erode to everyone. This also stacks on top of the regular shock, so you can have both shock and erode with this light cone, counting as 2 separate debuffs, which means your Good Night and Sleep Well will count as 2 stacks if you're running like Good Night, Sleep Well on another character as well. So this light cone, super versatile. It helps you proc Arcana even faster, or build the stacks of Arcana even faster because you get additional erode. If you're running, for example, Black Swan as a solo Nihility, solo DOT character to act like a pseudo Pella, defense breaker and some damage on the side, this will be very critical to ensure that she pops off still. Very, very flexible, and this is not something that a lot of people will be thinking about of playing her. We talked about it in our team comp video, which I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't and you want to understand more about it. But this is a very, very good light cone for her. I would say it's considerably, I will place it on par with her signature light cone for the fact that it's versatile, and it can be used for other characters as well. And this is just ridiculous, being able to proc lightning DOT, which means your Sampo can proc lightning DOT, your Gui Naifen can proc lightning DOT, Pella Welt can be a lightning DOT character also. It's good for your whole account basically, and it scales with attack percentage. So that is what I wanted to share for Lightcones here. Of course, there are 2, 3, who knows how many more, I can't say right now as of time of recording, but we'll talk about it once the game state goes live. But the advice here pretty much stands regardless moving forward as well. And I want to use this last section here, of course, to talk about some team compositions. For any of you new players, maybe you're watching this video, you want a bit more help or to build a free-to-play team. I think that if you have no idea like what you want to run and what you want to, who you want to build, you don't have to mainly like 5-star characters. My best recommendation is to start with Esther. Esther is going to be pretty solid for Black Swan in general. I understand if you're a new player, you might not have Kafka, so I'll give you some options for a free-to-play player. You probably will get by for now with a character like Serval. Where is my Serval anyway? She's this one here. You get her for free. She will be a nice stand-in while you're waiting for a character like Sampo. Where is Sampo here? This guy here. Or if you are lucky enough to pull her on the banner, Gui Naifen, you can swap in Gui Naifen as well. But I won't like force in the photo here just in case some of you do not have her. So of course Black Swan is in the first slot. The last slot you can pretty much get by with more sustained characters, but for the sake of being very general, Natasha probably will be a safe pick. I want to also mention that in 2.0 you have a choice of free 4-star characters. So technically speaking, you can get Sampo for free if you choose him from the event after completing 2.0. So he's technically like considered free to play. This probably will be a pretty nice setup for new players as well. If any of you more experienced players, you want to know like what team comps you can work with Ryan May, with or without Kafka. If you don't even have Kafka, can she even be played without Kafka? Check out this team composition video where we talk about more permutations and combinations as well. Anyways guys, we do this every single patch. If you appreciate such content, check out this video, like and subscribe. See you in the next video.